Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to another episode of the Call Sheet Breakdowns. This is Coach Kevin Smith with you in the aftermath of Pittsburgh's 31-17 wild card loss to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. We're going to bring a breakdown to you of the Pittsburgh passing game. One of the most pressing questions the Steelers must answer as they move forward into 2024 is who will be the new offensive coordinator? And in answering that question, they also must look at what coach is going to be able to bring a modern passing game to Pittsburgh to help with the evolution of their young quarterbacks, whether it's Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, or whomever they choose to ride with. But bottom line, whatever coach they bring in's got to get this passing game up to par, got to turn it into an NFL passing attack. And that will be the focus of this breakdown. So let's get to the video. Contrast in the approach of these two teams when it came to the passing game was dramatic. The Bills ran a modern passing game. And by modern, what do I mean? I mean, they ran layered routes. They had route progressions that they allowed their quarterback to work through. They moved the pocket. They had sight adjustments. The Steelers, by contrast, ran, I almost feel like I'm doing an insult to the passing game at the high school where I coach when I say Pittsburgh ran a high school level passing attack. A lot of single read concepts, some mirrored stuff, an awful lot of routes where you just have receivers running out and turning around. It almost felt like stuff that they were drawing up in the sand. We'll give you a couple quick examples of that. Here's Pittsburgh on their first possession of the ball game. They made a first down, moved the ball out near midfield, but then they faced a 3rd and 8. They're getting man coverage from the Bills. And if you look at Buffalo's structure, it's actually man with 2 deep safeties. So man under 2 deep. They're threatening pressure. They're inviting the Steelers to the middle of the field, an area where Pittsburgh rarely throws the football. And again, they're not going to attack the middle of the field here to their own detriment. The Steelers are going to run a smash concept to the bottom of the screen, which is sort of a deep corner route from the slot receiver and a dropout from the wide receiver. And then they're going to run a little snag concept up here to the boundary, right, where you've got a corner route from the inside receiver and a late breaking in route from the outside receiver, George Pickens. So you can say, hey, there's a route here, this one, right, that's trying to attack the middle of the field. But watch as Pickens presses vertical first. He's against man coverage. That's going to delay his release and really make it so that quarterback Mason Rudolph doesn't have the time to allow this route to develop. Instead, Rudolph's going to wind up targeting Freiermuth here on the corner route. And as you're going to see, this route's covered. Nothing real good here. He's got to throw the ball over Freiermuth's head into a double coverage look. Watch how long it takes for Pickens, again, at the top of the screen, to work back to the middle. Right? If Pickens is able to release early in this route progression, right? If he's able to kind of come right now, right? If we look at it like this, if Freiermuth crosses Pickens' face as he makes his vertical release and then gives Pickens the opportunity to run right now, he's got a much better chance of freeing himself up from that press coverage. But the way the Steelers do it, sending Freiermuth vertical doesn't create any kind of pick. Sending Pickens vertical, again, both of those guys are easy to jam. All 4 of these routes release vertically, just like that. Easy jam for Buffalo. And that's the theme that I think you really see with this passing game. Easy for the defense. Easy for the defense. Not creating a whole lot of conflict for the defense or making it hard on the defense. That's really a problem in this Pittsburgh passing game. So there's an incompletion, and that's the end of the Steelers' first drive. Okay, now the Pittsburgh's second drive. Now they're faced with 3rd and 5. They're in a 2-by-2 set, but as you're going to see right here, they're going to motion Pat Freiermuth over. Notice that nobody on Buffalo's defense swaps over with Freiermuth. What does that tell you? That tells you that Buffalo is most likely going to be in some kind of a zone. And the Steelers have a pretty good zone beater here. You got to the 3 receiver side, you got an OTB from Freiermuth over the ball route, and then you got just sort of a little hitch and dig combination in behind it. And this is a zone beater right here. Up to the top, all you got is a sticks route, a hitch from Deontay Johnson. Now, zone coverage. Zone coverage. What does that mean? That means Buffalo is probably going to have some kind of a structure where there is a deep defender, deep middle field, deep defender, flat, hook curl, flat. You got 2 underneath defenders here and a deep third defender, and you got 3 Steelers receivers in that area. Here you got an over the top and an underneath to bracket Pittsburgh's lone receiver. So where do you want to target? You want to target one of these 2 routes against the zone coverage. That is not what the Steelers are going to do, however. Watch as we run this through. Rudolph's eyes will go right to the top of the screen to Deontay Johnson, and he is covered. Has to throw that thing away. Clearly, Rudolph doesn't diagnose the coverage. He thinks it's going to be man. He's expecting a blitz. Johnson's like his hot route here, basically, and then it turns into zone, and he has to throw it away. But again, the route concept itself is not very imaginative. You don't have anything really attacking the middle of the field. And even though they do have a fairly decent look down to the bottom of the screen against the zone coverage, Rudolph is not prepared to attack it because his eyes are to the single receiver side, which is where you would want to go if it were man coverage. So once again, Pittsburgh just not prepared in their passing game for what the defense is giving them. Probably the most egregious example of that happens on the most important play of the football game. I profiled this play in my single play breakdown that I did for the FFSN YouTube channel. On this one, right, this is 14-0 Bills, middle of the second quarter, but the Steelers have put together their best drive of the game. They've driven down inside the Buffalo 5-yard line. They've got 2nd and goal at the 4. The Bills are in straight man coverage across the board. Steelers in a 5-wide set, straight man coverage across the board. But rather than run something interesting and challenging, think about all the combinations of routes that you could run here that would challenge the Buffalo defense, right? You've got mesh, right, where you've got 2 crossers in the middle of the field with some sort of wheel, some sort of high hole route, probably a corner coming here. But again, lots of stuff going on in the middle of the field that the Bills have to communicate and diagnose. You've got all sorts of motion possibilities, right? Motion here, slant, run a pick for George Pickens there. You can do the same thing going back to the other side. Motion Pat Freiermuth over, pick, out in the flat. Lots and lots of options that you can run here to challenge Buffalo in man coverage to have to trade and communicate and stay with Pittsburgh's receivers. But instead, look at what the Steelers run. They basically run 5 run out and turn around routes. All 3 inside receivers run just across the goal line and literally hitch up and look for the ball, while both outside receivers, Najee Harris here, and then up to the top of the screen, Deontay Johnson, run little quick outs. Johnson's quick out is especially nonsensical because he's pinned into the boundary by his alignment. Where's he going to go to make his out cut? He doesn't have enough space. And unfortunately, that's where Mason Rudolph wants to go with the football, as he will throw this out cut up top to Johnson. He misses inside with his throw. The ball's picked. And that's pretty much the game, man. Buffalo goes back down and scores, and it's 21-0. This was Pittsburgh's chance to get back into the game. But this route concept is just so simple and basic and remedial. There's nothing challenging here for the Bills. The Bills are not put into a stressful situation at all. They can bracket all the inside receivers. They can force difficult throws to the boundary on the outside receivers. Rudolph doesn't help his case by throwing a bad ball, but it's a bad route combination against man coverage. Contrast this to what Buffalo's doing in their passing game. The Bills are providing answers for whatever coverage the Steelers are giving them within the structure of their passing game. This starts with sight adjustments. So what you're going to see here is as Buffalo motions their slot receiver over, the Bills are going to get a good feel for how Pittsburgh's lining up. They motion the slot receiver over. Everybody gets set. And now what Buffalo sees here is that Pittsburgh stays too high. You've got a safety up here to the top. You got a second safety over here just out of the top of the screen. You can't really see it. And there's nobody defending the alley, right? So Alex Highsmith is going to come off the edge. And when he does, watch Buffalo's receiver make this sort of sight adjustment. He's going to see Highsmith go. I don't know what his prescribed route is, but once he sees Highsmith go, he's just going to settle down right here. Take this open area. This is what's called a free access throw. If a defense gives you access to an area of the field, just settle down and take it. And that's what Buffalo does here. Piece of cake, easy 5 yards. Easy answer for the defense that Pittsburgh is giving them. Throw the free access. That's a simple 5-yard pitch and catch. Where now what this does is, while this isn't a splash play by any stretch of the imagination, it forces Pittsburgh to have to start to honor this. These safeties have to begin to creep up and get a little more conscious of the short underneath throw. Here's another example. Look at what the Steelers are doing with their second level defenders here. They're showing some sort of aggressiveness, right? He's creeping up. Is he going to come? Is he going to come? The Steelers are messing around with these 3 players right in here pre-snap. They're moving all over the place. They're showing like it might be a blitz. I don't know what Buffalo's route concept that has here, what the original design is, but watch Stephon Diggs. I'm guessing Diggs is prescribed to run a crosser here. But when he reads all the action inside here from Pittsburgh's second level players, right, all he does post-snap is settle down right here. He's just going to hitch up in an open void, and Josh Allen's going to throw him the ball. This is a post-snap sight adjustment. This is not rocket science. It takes some practice. It does. It takes some practice. You got to rep it. And obviously the Steelers don't feel comfortable enough to include these concepts in their passing game, but watch how effective it is. Watch how easily they make the Steelers wrong. Look at all the second level guys messing around, and Diggs just settles into the void. As Michael Walker drops back, Landon Roberts works out, and Minkah Fitzpatrick comes, they leave the middle of the field wide open, and Diggs just settles down in there, and that's an easy 12-yard, 13-yard gain for the Bills. Sight adjustments. Huge element of the modern NFL passing game and something the Steelers lack. Here's another one. Remember that clip I showed of the Steelers where Buffalo showed a blitz look and gave Pittsburgh the middle of the field? Well, watch what Buffalo does when they get something similar. They're going to start by running some pretty simple yo-yo motion, right? This receiver's going to motion here, and now he's going to motion back like he's going to be like return on the jet sweep. And what you're going to see is Pittsburgh's defense is going to run across with him and then run back. What's that tell Josh Allen? He's getting man-to-man coverage. And Josh Allen knows if I get man-to-man coverage, I want to attack the middle of the field. And this is the receiver that he's going to target, his tight end, running a deep over across the middle of the field, because that's really hard to cover, especially when the coverage player is aligned at the second level and is an outside shade. So take advantage of the easy release to the middle of the field and exploit coverage, exploit man coverage by running crossing routes. That's another fundamental rule in the game of football, right? They give you the inside picture, right? They give you the inside of the field, run the crossing routes that take advantage of that. You see Patrick Peterson going back and forth, indicating man. And then, granted, this is a great ball, man. It's actually pretty good coverage there by Eric Rowe. But, this is Josh Allen, right? He puts the ball on the money. And it's easy as a Steeler fan to say, yeah, well, that's Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. But Buffalo's given him the opportunity to do Josh Allen things by calling those routes in the middle of the field. Okay, one more here. This is a great example of Buffalo exploiting a good matchup. They're going to get a straight cover 2 look from the Steelers. The Steelers are going to have 2 single or 2 high safeties. And Buffalo's going to pull those safeties out of there with just some smash concepts on both sides of the field, right? Pull those safeties, force them to widen to cover those corner routes, and then they're just going to run that divide right up the middle of the field, getting their tight end isolated on Pittsburgh's linebacker one-on-one. We call these 7-on-7 routes. They work great in the summertime when everybody's in shorts, but not so much when you actually have to do it for real, except on this one, Buffalo makes it happen. Divide route against cover 2, right down the middle of the field, exploiting the matchup, touchdown. So from the Bills, we see a modern, evolved NFL passing game, and from the Steelers, we see not nearly as much. And for Pittsburgh to get where they need to go, They got to ace this test in the offseason and bring in an offensive coordinator who can bring that sort of a passing game to Pittsburgh.